The first person that Anthony saw as he alighted from his train on the following afternoon was Superintendent Battle. His face broke into a smile. "I've returned according to contract," he remarked. "Did you come down here to assure yourself of the fact?" Battle shook his head. "I wasn't worrying about that, Mr. Cade. I happened to be going to London, that's all." "You have such a trustful nature, Battle." "Do you think so, sir?" "No, I think you're deep, very deep. Still waters, you know, and all that sort of thing. So, you're going to London?" "I am, Mr. Cade." "I wonder why." The detective did not reply. "You're so chatty," remarked Anthony. "That's what I like about you." A far-off twinkle showed in Battle's eyes. "What about your own little job, Mr. Cade?" he inquired. "How did that go off?" "I've drawn a blank, Battle. For the second time I've been proved hopelessly wrong. Galling, isn't it?" "What was the idea, sir, if I may ask?" "I suspected the French governess, Battle. A, upon the grounds of her being the most unlikely person, according to the canons of the best fiction. B, because there was a light in her room on the night of the tragedy." "That wasn't much to go upon." "You are quite right. I was not. But I discovered that she had only been here a short time. And I also found a suspicious Frenchman spying around the place. You know all about him, I suppose." "Oh, you mean the man who calls himself M. Shells, staying at the Cricketers, a traveller in silk?" "That's it, is it? What about him? What does Scotland Yard think?" "His actions have been suspicious," said Superintendent Battle expressionlessly. "Very suspicious, I should say. Well, I put two and two together. French governess in the house, French stranger outside. I decided that they were in league together, and I hurried off to interview the lady with whom Mademoiselle Brunn had lived for the last 10 years. I was fully prepared to find that she had never heard of any such person as Mademoiselle Brunn. But I was wrong, Battle. Mademoiselle is the genuine article." Battle nodded. "I must admit," said Anthony, "that as soon as I spoke to her, I had an uneasy conviction that I was barking up the wrong tree. She seemed so absolutely the governess." Again Battle nodded. "All the same, Mr. Cade, you can't always go by that. Women, especially, can do a lot with make-up. I've seen quite a pretty girl with the colour of her hair altered, a sallow complexion stain, slightly reddened eyelids, and, most efficacious of all, dowdy clothes, who would fail to be identified by 9 people out of 10 who had seen her in her former character. Men haven't got quite the same pull. You can do something with the eyebrows, and of course different sets of false teeth alter the whole expression. But there are always the ears. There's an extraordinary lot of character in ears, Mr. Cade." "Don't look so hard at mine, Battle," complained Anthony. "You make me quite nervous." "I'm not talking of false beards and grease paint," continued the superintendent. "That's only for books. No, there are very few men who can escape identification and put it over on you. In fact, there's only one man I know who has a positive genius for impersonation. King Victor. Ever heard of King Victor, Mr. Cade?" There was something so sharp and sudden about the way the detective put the question that Anthony checked the words that were rising to his lips. "King Victor," he said reflectively instead. "Somehow I seem to have heard the name." "One of the most celebrated jewel thieves in the world. Irish father, French mother. Can speak 5 languages at least. He's been serving a sentence, but his time was up a few months ago." "Really? And where is he supposed to be now?" "Well, Mr. Cade, that's what we'd rather like to know." "The plot thickens," said Anthony lightly. "No chance of his turning up here, is there? I suppose he wouldn't be interested in political memoirs, only in jewels." "There's no saying," said Superintendent Battle. "For all we know, he may be here already." "Disguised as the second footman. Splendid. You'll recognize him by his ears, and cover yourself with glory." "Quite fond of your little jokes, aren't you, Mr. Cade? By the way, what do you think of that curious business at Staines?" "Staines?" said Anthony. "What's been happening at Staines?" "It was in the Saturday papers. I thought you might have seen about it. Man found by the roadside shot. A foreigner. It was in the papers again today, of course." "I did see something about it," said Anthony carelessly. "Not suicide, apparently." "No. There was no weapon. As yet the man hasn't been identified." "You seem very interested," said Anthony, smiling. "No connection with Prince Michael's death, is there?" His hand was quite steady. So were his eyes. Was it his fancy that Superintendent Battle was looking at him with peculiar intentness?